I found such beauty and peace and solace and just creating my art that I told myself, this is the opportunity that I have. So I would say dream big and then work hard, and it's going to happen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast experience. And thank you so much for your attention today. This is a podcast about life. And today I do have the honor to speak to a very special lady. Her name is Francesca. And Francesca is a Canadian business owner who is making positive paintings and digital art. And you're based in Ontario. Welcome to the podcast, Francesca.
Thank you, Ida. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So one thing I like to do with a lot of my guests is, even though I know some things about you, my audience knows nothing about you. So I still want you to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. Who's Francesca?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Haiti, and I came to Canada when I was about 15 years old. I'm an immigrant in this country, actually first generation immigrant. And I'm just really glad, first of all, of course, to be participating in this podcast, but also in my life story. I think where I'm at right now is not exactly where I thought I would be, but I'm glad that I'm here. When I was 8 years old, I had a dream of being an artist and actually doing that full time and also helping people. I was always passionate about that. So, life happened. I set out to do a lot of different things, but then in 2019, I just remembered that dream of mine of back when I was 8 years old. And I told myself, you know what, let me actually continue pursuing art. And yeah, I just really delved into it, learned a lot more about business and entrepreneurship. And then I launched Kouka, which is my art studio in 2020. So right before the pandemic happened, I was actually preparing to launch. And then the pandemic happened, just confirmed that I needed to be on this path. And then now I'm here. So really grateful for these different opportunities.
Perfect. Did you say you remembered in 2019 about the dream?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was always in the back of my mind, right? But then, I went to university, pursued a certain career. I didn't do art for like 3 years in my life because I was having creative block. So I never actually thought that I could do it. So in 2019, there's just something that happened, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should think about this again, And a lot of people in my entourage were actually starting to ask me for art. Some of my friends and family, they were asking me for commission pieces. And then one of them was like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you actually sell these things? And then that's when I remembered, oh my God, I actually had a dream about this when I was 8, So I told myself, let's just go for it. You only live once, and you have to work hard to make your dreams come true. So
Oh my God, there's so many things I want to dive into right there. So, okay, where do I go? Okay, so one thing that I know a lot of people struggle with is you're really good at something, and a lot of people come to you for that thing, but you never really recognize that there is a business in it. If everybody is asking me to do this particular thing, there might be a business in it, especially if people are asking to pay me for it. So what was it specifically that clicked for you to say, hey, I should actually leave my job and start doing this thing full time?
Man, there were so many elements, so many different elements. The first thing I think that came to my mind was the passion that I felt while I was actually doing that thing. So, as you were mentioning, I started seeing that there was an ask for, those specific things. So when it came to people wanting to design their homes, so I was getting people telling me, hey, would you like to paint my daughter's room? Or I would want you to design this for me so that I can put it in a specific space in my house, etc. So it started with a lot of those requests and me actually saying yes to them and actually seeing how much I actually really loved it. I love doing that. I love creating stuff for people as well, and just expressing myself so creatively. And so when I realized, first of all, and I reconnected with that passion of mine, I told myself, maybe I could do this. And then the second thing is that before 2019, I was really into entrepreneurship. So I used to go to these different fairs in Montreal where entrepreneurs would gather together. There would be experts there, whether it was banking or lawyers, etc., that were really just talking about different aspects of your business. And I was just really interested in that, but never actually saw how it could plan out when it comes to being an artist. And so in 2019, when I started thinking about it, I had to do a lot of research to see how that could actually come into play. And so that's when I, started doing the research, but then actually making the action plan. So, registering myself as a business, and then just really delving into the side of business planning and doing that part of, of the research and the management. So I developed a business plan of how that could work, what services I would offer, etc. Because it's all nice, fun and games when you're like, I'm just creating art. But then after that, when it comes to actually managing a business, you need to put in the steps, put in the work. And so I had to do a lot of research and just reach out to certain people that knew better than I did, and had certain expertise in certain fields, and really tap into that network around me. So yeah.
What was the most, so far, because you're still on the journey, but what was the most memorable piece you've created to date, and why?
Wow, that is an excellent question. I love them so much, each and every one of them. Actually, every time that I do one, I tell myself that I've outdone myself this time. So I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I see growth, or I try at least. But I think the most memorable piece to date was one that I created in 2021, and it's called Queen of the Forest. So I was reached out by, this individual who was working on a project that was financed by Timberland, so the shoe brand.
Wow.
I know. And they were doing this collaboration with this nonprofit in Haiti, where the nonprofit was really in charge of, gathering cotton that's organic, fair trade, etc. And they would use that cotton to do their shoes and their merch, etc. And then they reached out to me as one of the 5 artists, I believe, to talk about that initiative. And so the piece that I created for that is my most memorable one, first of all, because of that story, but also because when they reached out to me, they said they wanted the artwork within like a week and a half. And I had never painted that fast. And I did it, So it was quite the journey to like find the inspiration, do the actual art, realizing certain concepts didn't work, starting over, etc. And then until like actually launching it. And I think to this date, it's probably one of the pieces that I sold the most of, because there were many different copies, because it was the digital piece that I ended up doing. So
how fast did you do that one?
And in a week and a half. I literally
Wow.
in a week and a half. It was crazy. Yeah. And back then I wasn't full time yet. And so I actually took off at work. I was telling myself I need to complete this. So I took a day off at work, and I think I painted like 8 hours straight, which again, I've never done before. So it was quite the journey.
Wow. Okay. So there are certain things that happen that challenge us to become more. Like, you didn't know you could paint that fast, but you did. And not only did you do it, it becomes one of your most memorable pieces.
For sure.
Speak about, maybe for people trying to identify opportunities, like it just happened. You said yes to something. You could have said no, but you said yes. You took a chance on yourself. What was going through your mind at that time that made you think you could do this?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the number one thing that I learned in this journey is to trust my skills and to be confident in the fact that I can learn on the go, even if there are certain techniques that I might not know. So I think for anybody who's looking to pursue their dreams or pursue something, you don't have to know everything from the get-go. Oftentimes we're like, oh, but this needs to be perfect, or this needs to happen before I can actually launch this thing, or I can actually do this full time or whatever. And I think that that's good to have those reflexes, but sometimes I think you just need to launch the thing and to do it with passion, and to tell yourself that whatever it is you might feel like you're lacking, you'll have the opportunity to learn on the go and to acquire those skills as well. I was scared when I said yes. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it in a week and a half, because art is very subjective, right? It's not like I can just produce that thing and it just, comes out of thin air. There's actually research, and, there needs to be inspiration, and I need to like it, and, there needs to be a nice composition. But I did it because I trusted the fact that I could actually make it to the launch day, basically, So I think it takes trust and confidence, but it also takes, the opportunity to tell yourself that you'll learn as you go and not be afraid of that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the 8-year-old Francesca.
Yes.
So at 8, you were still in Haiti.
Yes.
But you had this dream. Is it
Yes.
anything like what you thought it would be, or is it more, or is it less? Like 8-year-old
I
Francesca,
think,
what you thinking?
yeah. Well, I think it's exactly what it needed to be. When I was 8, I still remember where I was. That made me think I'm gonna try to make this happen. And I have this dream. So I was in summer vacation visiting my family in the US. And I have an aunt who's really good at drawing and painting. And that used to be, the bonding element between her and I. We used to go, to those different shops, get paints and like all of those art supplies. And then I remember coming back home to her house one day and I said, you have all of those beautiful paintings on the wall that you created. How come you're working in, I think she was working in finances and banking at the time. And so
Mm-hmm.
as an 8-year-old, I'm like, how come you're not a painter? And she's like, well, because you can't really make it as an artist in this world. I remember that's what she said, something along those lines. And
Yeah.
I just remember thinking in my head, I'm gonna be the family member who's gonna be an artist and who's gonna do this. So this
What a
is how it
goal.
actually exactly. That's how it actually started, right? So
Yeah.
again, I think it comes back to the piece that I was talking about before. It's about that little confidence that you need to have in yourself, because for sure it's not going to be easy. For sure there's going to be elements where you're like, okay, this is not paying out the way that you thought it would. And there are those elements where, it dips in when it comes to business and stuff, but you have to just continue to believe in the dream, right? So I don't think as an 8-year-old I thought of all of the details. I just thought I'm just gonna make art and I'm gonna sell it and people are gonna like it. I'm gonna be an artist, right? But the whole aspect of business didn't come to my mind at the time. It was mostly just the art. So yeah.
Yeah. And there's somebody I listened to, I think his name is Garen Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He's always talking about you need to tap into your 5-year-old self, which very close is an 8-year-old
Mm-hmm.
self, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
5-year-old self knows exactly what it is we're supposed to be doing, but oftentimes we're so disconnected from that
Mm-hmm.
that we, just like what you said about your aunt, she was doing finances, but she's got all this art painting. So maybe her inner self also wanted that, and a lot of us are in that place where there's something that we dreamed about doing when we were younger,
Mm-hmm.
but society kind of trained us to see that, hey, you're not going to be able to pay the bills for this thing, or nobody can make it
Yeah.
in that field, which very innocently we say that to kids, and we say that and it becomes internalized, and it's the narrative that we carry for ourselves going forward. But the
For
most
sure.
impressive thing is that you were able to then go back to remembering who you wanted to be, and then actually being bold enough to go ahead and do that thing. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
My question on that is, where do you go to find inspiration?
I get this question a lot. I get my inspiration through a lot of different things. I think mostly the main thing is nature. I really do love to spend time outdoors, and I think it also translates into my art. So you're often going to see that I draw, portraits, oftentimes of Black women, because I love to have that representation, and I don't think there's enough of that in the world. And I
Yeah.
think, we have a voice and it should be heard. So that these are the stories that I love to tell. And I really connect with nature, and it also translated in my art because there's this beauty in nature and how nature is just able to grow and become this better version every single day, from a
Yeah.
flower growing from a seed. You see the stem and then all of a sudden the flower blooms.
Yeah.
After that it closes off and then it, continues the path like that. This cycle, I feel I really want to translate in my art all the time. So I spend a lot of time in nature for sure. And then I really observe people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm just hanging around with my friends and I just look at them and I'm like, wow, that would be a beautiful subject to draw and paint. So
I heard a doctor say something like that, but go ahead. You look at people and you see paintings on them. I heard the doctor
I
say,
do.
there's a doctor I heard, he said something like one of his secret habits is he looks at people just walking around and he starts to diagnose them in his head. Like, oh, this one's got this
Wow.
issue, that one's got that issue. You pretty much see the world the
I
way you
do.
are, right?
Yeah, I really do. I really do think about those things oftentimes. I'm in a conversation, deep conversation with somebody, and I allow myself to think, wow, the light is really nice on them right now. Or, oh, I really like their skin color like this, or this color really suits them. It's, yeah. Or like the way
Wow.
that the light might shine on their hair. And I'm like, oh, I should try this and see how it plays out in paintings. It happens all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. So I'm sure, okay, you moved to Canada when you were 15 years old. That
Yes.
means you moved with family, right? Because you were too young to move by
My
yourself.
brothers, yes, my brothers were here already. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Well,
have a special immigration story where
yes.
my parents still stayed in Haiti and did the like they would come every couple of months or so and stay with us. But I was mostly with my brothers who are older than me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to hear your immigration story.
Okay. I don't remember much about it, honestly speaking. I just remember wanting to leave because in Haiti, I
Leave
want to say
Haiti or
back
leave Canada?
leave Haiti. So if I backtrack a little bit, growing up in Haiti, I knew that there was not a lot of grand opportunities when it came to post-secondary learning. And I really wanted to, get better skills somewhere else, potentially come back to Haiti. That's actually always been my dream, my second dream, should I say, and really make a difference in Haiti. So I knew that I needed to leave in order to come back.
Mhm.
So when I was about 13, my brother, my eldest brother, immigrated to Canada because he also had his post-secondary education to pursue. And so I really wanted to follow, not in his footsteps per se, but kind of follow that journey as well to know, okay, I'm going to go to Canada, study XYZ, and then potentially come back to Haiti and help and support, etc. So that's kind of how it happened. Really, my parents had started already the immigration process to come to Canada, for us to come to Canada. And then, yeah, I don't really remember much about it aside from the fact that I came here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to go back to Haiti the way that I would have wanted, meaning that I've been there almost every year ever since on vacation and to see my family, and a lot of them are still over there. But because of the political situation, it's kind of hard to think about reestablishing myself over there because it's just really hard and there's a lot of insecurity, etc. So I think that would have had a very big impact on my mental health, so that's a choice that I made for now anyways, to not go back. But it's still a dream and a wish of mine to go back and support and do a difference. So
Yeah, and it's so true and so touching that you mentioned that because it's a very similar thing with myself as well. I moved
mhm,
over here when I was 24,
mhm,
when I came over to Canada. And I chose to come here just because I wanted to kind of see what else was out there in the world. I was very, very fine where I was.
yeah,
But right now there's so much insecurity back home. It just breaks my heart that I haven't even been able to take my kids to go visit there because I really want them to go
for
back and
sure.
experience that culture, right? It's
Yeah,
things are so different here and there. Is it good or bad? No, it's just different. It's good
it's
to be
just
able to
different.
experience both perspectives. So you kind of know where you come from, but know where you are. So you have a different kind of appreciation for everything around you, right? And
Mhm,
it's just that. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
mhm,
So I'm thinking about obstacles. So I know that for a lot of entrepreneurs, there is some obstacle that you face that once you overcome it, then it kind of guides your path to what you become in a way. So for me, for example, before I started my accounting business, I used to work in accounting in I was employed with somebody in accounting working for them. And then
mhm.
I'd left for maternity leave. And then when I came back, and then I got pregnant again and I left. So two maternity leaves in a 3-year period. My job was no longer as available as it was before. Like the
Yes.
job I came back to wasn't the job that I had left, right? And
Mhm,
so when I had been on maternity leave, though, I had, because of the love that I have for it, I started learning certain things on my own. QuickBooks Online, which is something you use, I learned that on my own. And then when I came back, it's like, okay, your job is not here anymore, but you can come back. Like a lot of things changed
mhm.
that pushed me to that next level to be like, okay, either you already know those things. Are you going to sit here and beg for a paycheck, or are you going to go ahead and create something that you already know you're able to help people with? So
Mhm.
that obstacle of the job at the time informed the decision that I took next, and it pushed me to the next place. So I'm wondering for you if you did have some obstacles along the path that kind of guided you to become who you are today, or maybe just obstacles in business that you want to share with us.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that story. I think it's actually really inspiring to see you jump back into it because you could have been like, okay, I'll just search for another job, but you
Yeah.
saw that opportunity and you just went for it. So that's really inspiring. And with me, I think one of the biggest obstacle that I faced was a wake-up call for me. And that obstacle was the fact that I was feeling really burnt out and depressed. And that's, I mean, yeah, it comes with 2020, right? Everybody was,
Yeah.
it was a whole shit show.
Yeah.
And so, but then I was really, really feeling so I didn't launch my business like full time and went full time in 2020, right? I actually did that because there was a transition period where I still had a full-time job and doing art on the side and launching and creating this business. And then in 2021, I realized, okay, I couldn't do this anymore. I was really feeling burnt out, really feeling low. And I found such beauty and peace and solace and just creating my art that I told myself, this is the opportunity that I have, right? And you know, through the year of 2020 of actually making this work, getting different contracts, getting different commissions, etc., I saved a lot of that money, which gave me the opportunity to tell myself, let's quit our job
Yeah.
and launch this full time. And so I did that in 2021. And so yeah, that's my story really. It's just, you know, trying to see what good can come out of a very, very dark place, very dark situation. And I just went for it and never looked back, really.
Yeah. Do you think you would have regretted? Of course, you're doing it right now, but if you hadn't taken that opportunity, what do you think you would have regretted more? Not knowing that you could do this, or like, tell me, because one of my mentors says minimize regret. What would you regret the most? Not trying?
Definitely not trying. Definitely not trying. And not trying when I did, right? Because there were so many opportunities. There was a lot of, you know, things in the environment of art and small business, etc., that was going on in 2020 and 2021 that really pushed that for me, right? And so I kind of took advantage of that wave because there was a big like support small business, you know, trend. So I feel like had I not done it back then and done it this year in this economy, I think it would have been quite the struggle. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what message would you want to pass to anybody who might be listening right now and is trying to make that kind of bold move that you made?
Just do it. I know this
Thank you,
sentence
Nike.
Right? I'm like, it's probably trademarked or whatever, but
it
is. But honestly, the inspiration or the inspiration would be just chase your dreams and go after them. But those dreams can't actually happen if you don't give yourself discipline and plan. So I would say dream big and then work hard. And it's gonna happen.
Oh, that's beautiful. And if you have any of your pieces there, I'd like you to just show us. Do you have any pieces around there?
They are stuck on the wall right now. I'm actually
Oh,
looking at
okay.
them. There's none of them that are loose right now. And
Okay. You
all
know
of the
what?
other ones are huge. Yeah, so
I'll
sorry.
get images of them and include them somewhere so people
Yes.
can. I've seen your paintings, they're really beautiful. So there's a lot of
Thank you.
women in them, African American
Yes.
women in them, and a lot of
Yes.
nature, a lot of flowers, a lot of leaves. It's very unique. And
Thank
the
you.
word I think you said is making positive art. Why
Yes.
specifically that?
I think that's because there's definitely a lot of negativity in the world. There's too much negativity. And for me, I just want people to see my art and to see beauty and to see things in a in a positive light and be inspired to be their best selves. I think every single one of my paintings is just embracing who you are as an individual, your identity. And so that positivity really gets you going in the world. And yeah, I think that's the inspiration behind it, really.
Yeah. And how can we support you? So if someone is listening right now, where do they follow you? Where do they get your PCs? How do they get to work with you?
Yeah, so they can follow me on any social media platform under Kouka, and they can also go on my website, koukatelier.com, and check out the pieces that I have. If they want something for themselves, they can also hire me for commissions. So KOUKATELIER.com.
Perfect. I'm going to include the
Yeah.
links of that in the description
Yes.
below.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, anything I haven't asked you that you wanted to share with the audience today?
I think everything was said. Just make the best of the situations that you have in front of you. And if you have a dream, just pursue it unapologetically and see how things unfold. Yeah.
Yeah. And remember your dreams, guys. Your 5-year-old self, your 7-year-old self, your 8-year-old self. If you're in a place where you feel like you're stuck, just take some time and just go back, tap back into that inner child, and she or he is going to tell you something that you've probably forgotten, because it always does.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
All right, thank you so much. It's been Francesca Desulme, and I'm your host, Ida, and thank you so much for your time today, guys. Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you. Have a great day.